Hello, welcome back to another episode of Glacé Film Club. We're here today joined by myself, Matt Green, and Marcus Johnson is here.
Hello, I'm still here reviewing films with you. You're not going to get rid of me.
Giving his quirky insights into the world of cinema and the social economic impacts it play within the modern structure of the world.
That's me.
That's him. Today we are reviewing Jojo Rabbit, a wonderful piece of cinema directed by Taika Waititi, who's never afraid from shying away from putting himself in a film, as he did in Thor 3, who has played the Stone Man, whose name has escaped me currently.
Well, I've not seen that one, but I knew he directed it and was in it.
Yeah.
Interesting start
Stars
to the
in
podcast.
that. Yeah, so absolutely nice factoid for you there. So reviewing Jojo Rabbit, set within World War II, follows a young child, Jojo Rabbit, as he attempts to make his way in the world. He's been somewhat indoctrinated into the ideals of the Nazi Party, but coinciding with this, his mother is sheltering a Jewish girl in their house, and it's showing his exploration of what the Nazi Party stands for, and the whole film as a whole. I'm getting too deep. Anyway, we're reviewing Jojo Rabbit.
We'll get into the reviews. Nice top line overview. And before we start, shall we give thanks to the producers of the beer?
So we have this lovely little beer to enjoy with our review today. It's,
I'm excited to try.
Boom Juice, produced by Mobley Brewery.
Is this one of their glasses?
It is indeed.
Looks like it could well be. There you go, in a circle.
MPH.
Very popular type of logo for breweries.
Absolutely.
But successful.
It's a tropical IPA option, and let's give it a try. Cheers. Cheers.
Delightful.
Yeah, nice.
That provide a fantastic beverage throughout this podcast.
Cool. All right, so 15 minutes on the timer, as per. There we go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. So we're starting off with
cinematography.
I'm going to tell you a little story.
Okay.
So the day that you and I went to watch this, I reached out to you and said, "In fact, we're watching a film tonight," and hadn't heard anything about this film. But I was watching a bit of the old television. Yeah, still watch television these days.
Do you have a TV license?
Got a TV license. Don't worry about that. And the advert came on, and what grabbed me initially. And it's not the thought that went in my head, but it was the cinematography. I wasn't sat there, don't worry, I wasn't sat there going, oh, this is lovely cinematography. I really want to watch that with my eyes. But the visuals of it struck me as it felt, well, Wes Anderson-y. And by that, I mean a bit quirky, and there was loads of popping colour. Yes. So I thought, this is going to be a little bit edgy, a bit quirky. Yeah. Ticks the boxes for me. The subject matter seemed a bit off-piste and a bit strange. These are all the things I like in a film. So straight away, cinematography, bit Wes Anderson-y, pops of colour, and it delivered in the film. There was a lot of kind of quirky shots, a lot of really wide shots where it was static and the action was kind of happening in the distance, which I love that because it's kind of doesn't feel like it should be. Like you feel like you should be up close to it. For example, there's a bit where the grenade goes off that Jojo has run with, and you just see his body just flop over like that. And it's just like, it so shouldn't be shot that way, but it's fantastic.
It's almost Monty Python-esque in there, like, kind of like visual comedy. The way it played off that was fantastic. There's a wonderful example of that. And going back to the colour, it was so many films are set in war times, like desaturated, browns and really dull colours. But this was bright, it was colourful, it was representative of Germany at that time in the war.
What was interesting though was it was a vibrant visual set against a dull backdrop, because the setting of the film was from the off. You know that it's the part of the war where Germany are starting to be defeated, and they know that they are. And this gets mentioned by a few characters at the beginning, but yet the scene is still vibrant. It's popping, things are happening. So with the colours, it gives that contrast, which I think when we get onto the plot, it fits in so nicely with what they're trying to do with the story. So cinematography-wise, I really loved that kind of setting of the quirky shots, but also the use of colour to kind of throw you off what you thought you were going to see.
Absolutely, and there's some really nice piece of subtle cinematography in there. For the example, when Jojo Rabbit's walking across the court, it becomes about 3/4 of the way into the movie, the courtyard he's walking across, and he bends down to pick something up and stands back up, and he sees his mother's shoe
Yeah.
there right by his head, and like she's been hung, she's been found out for helping shelter Jews and move them out of the country. I thought it was a wonderful piece of cinematography. That you didn't need to show her being hung.
Yeah.
You didn't need to show her already have been hung. It was just the shoe.
But it's because they lingered on that shot earlier on, didn't they, on the shoes,
Exactly.
and then that just split second
Precisely.
kind of added and came back later.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of great kind of bits of reference and callbacks in that, and I think it was very clever. But in an interview, the director, Taika Waititi.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Sorry if you're watching, because you obviously are. But he said that he wanted to use the colour and make it seem a bit more exciting because from his research, it showed that there were affluent areas of Germany,
Yeah, absolutely.
even at this point during the war, when it looked like everything was getting destroyed, and to kind of give a different view of the narrative that it wasn't just a whole war-torn state, as you would just see the battles in war films or anything set like that, or even if it is set internally in Germany, you're focusing on the Nazi party or the people relevant to it. This was a family going by the business, doing pretty well off.
Yeah.
And doing nicely. So I liked how he consciously did that. And for me, that was the draw to the film, but also what made me really like it as well when I was watching it was just so visually stimulating.
Yeah, fantastic. It was almost fantasy and dreamlike at times, I
Yes,
believe.
I like that.
At the point when so Jojo Rabbit's away at this like boot camp training day situation, had a bit of an altercation with some older Hitler youths. Chaps, we'll see. He's run off into the woods, and then he's having a back and forth with his imaginary Hitler friend.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure I mentioned that in the introduction. Plays a major part of it.
Yeah.
And that's who Taika Waititi plays within the
film.
film. And they're having a bit of back and forth, and then it's a bit where he starts to come charging through the forest, and there's this slow-mo shot of like them jumping over this trench where they're all there with the grenades, and like Taika's there like.
Yeah, it's
His
ridiculous.
big grin on his face.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And again, this adds to the kind of absurdity and the weirdness and the fantasy element of it, which gives you that kind of different perspective.
Yes.
So through the cinematography, you get this kind of weird, almost delusional state, which makes you see things differently and approaches a subject matter which is generally quite serious and glum in a obviously not a happy way, but a way which makes you kind of break down barriers and see things, in a different light. And so that's what I loved about it.
And they repeat a similar thing as to that scene when they're in then Jojo's bedroom and they're having it back and forth, and then Hitler says he needs to leave, and he just like Supermans it out the window, which is frankly ridiculous.
Yeah, just from nowhere, bang, funny, hilarious. Anyway, we'll get on to more of that.
Yes.
What are we on next?
Acting.
Yeah. So I think if we go straight back to the acting of the director, what did you think of that as playing Hitler as a very kind of quite camp and also quite outlandish, but quite childish as well figure?
I feel like it played nicely in terms of this entire film is taking the mick out of what the Nazis stood for.
Yeah.
And when the film itself explores this, but when you get down to the fundamentals of the Nazi Party regime, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, it's looking at the other angle. Obviously, we know it's horrific, everything that went on and despicable, but at the core of what became something horrific and despicable was like nonsense.
Utterly,
daftness, which this film does. And that is the kind of the driving force of it, is the playing of that role and that interpretation of Hitler is kind of saying, look for a minute, just look how ridiculous all this is and what it turned into.
And there's the scene where he's they're having back and forth, and he says something to Jojo Rabbit along the lines of, when I first started, I'm not going to do a German accent, that'd be terrible.
Please don't.
When I first started out, people thought, oh, look at this guy, he's going to get us all killed. And you just know it's satirising. Like, he was a lunatic. He was.
Yeah.
And I think humour is one of the most powerful tools that we have to
it's like break down big issues. And Billy Connolly says this a lot. Let's take just a swift turn from that, but saying like, in horrifically serious scenario, you need comedy, because sometimes that's the only way things can pierce through is by
Absolutely.
laughing at them.
Yeah.
There's one in this scene that's poking holes in something, which obviously, once you poke holes in something, you can see the flaws in it, and then your view of it crumbles, much like the character of Jojo does throughout the film, as the Jewish girl pokes holes in his view of Jews. But also, in a serious scenario, you have to try and counter it with a serious reaction. But there's a serious barrier there. But if you counter it with humour, that's sometimes the only way that gets through. And this is why this film, I think, is so powerful for what is at the heart of it comedy, is because it does that.
Like Stephen Merchant said, when he read the script for the film, he was like, "Oh, not another film about a child and his imaginary Hitler friend." Which I can imagine that people have tried to write a script like this before. And this script was actually written back in 2011.
Nice.
And then it was put on the back burner by Taika Waititi. We'll try and get that right as we go through this. Because it felt like at the time there wasn't, no production house wanted to take the leap on this film. And it felt like the time was right. He found the right crew to do it. And I think it was right in terms of putting himself into the role. I feel like he added to it massively.
Let me just, one more quick point on the acting and the characters, is that what I really enjoyed was the casting of the two young lads. So the main character of Jojo, I thought I only found out from some research that he is English, but he put a German accent on for it, and it was very convincing. He played the role very well, the kind of innocence, but yet convicted, the kind of seriousness of when he was playing that kind of Nazi role. But then his best friend in it, who's also in the Hitler Youth, they're just like, no, just keep him with an English accent. Again, just because it was a bit bizarre and almost Monty Python-esque. But then it just showed the more kind of juvenile, childish nature of it. And this digs into the bigger themes, which we'll get onto in the history of it. But I feel like casting those two, having one actually the German accent and one with the English accent, just kind of threw into all of that. And I thought that was fantastic. Okay,
all right, moving
next
on.
Section, what we're discussing here.
Context and history.
Okay, well, it slides into it nicely, and I'll go straight into it.
Go for it.
So those two characters, and especially Jojo, with the kind of the juvenile element, but the fact that he was both innocent and he had the loving, caring side with his mother, and then also he started to fall in love with the Jewish girl who was living in the house. But then on the flip side, he had this hatred in him, which was instilled through the Hitler Youth and the Nazi Party. This, historically, I think is very accurate. Not just, obviously we know that the Hitler Youth was set up to kind of brainwash and pump these ideas into young people, which we know works when you get people from a young age. But near the end of the film, you see that it's just the Hitler Youth fighting on the front line, just handing them like machine guns and grenades, and there's a hilarious line where it just gives him a grenade and go and hug that American guy. I mean, great comedy. But what I thought was fascinating about that is that it was true that when the Allies reached Berlin and the final battles were ensuing, everyone had fled apart from the Hitler Youth were fighting because they were the most hardcore. And I thought it showed a very cutting point and insight, was that yes, a lot of people went along with this, but there was collaborators, and even one of the soldiers, what was he called? The two guys who were quite camp, and they play on that, but they were obviously like sympathetic to the resistance side. They were going along with it, but it was the youth that were really in it, and they were the ones who were almost a victim of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yet showing his character really deeply and still showing his childhood innocence is what makes it really striking, is the fact that there's these children who are just children, but they're fueling this violence and hatred. And if it would have gone on, they were the ones who would have really believed in it. And for me, that historical element made it very relevant, but also really striking as a piece.
I thought it was somewhat of a love letter to single mothers in a way.
Okay, I know a lot about that.
Well, I don't have children, but I know that raising children is hard. At the time, there was a lot of men were going off to war, a lot of women were left at home to look after, raise their families. And it's hard enough raising a child, but trying to raise a child that's been indoctrinated into this Hitler Youth mindset that you personally is wrong, and you have a child that you're trying to like convince that all this stuff's wrong, and try and raise him to be a good person. It's horrible.
There was a great dynamic between Jojo and the character played by Scarlett Johansson, who I thought was fantastic
Yes.
in it. Which, when you again going into it, seeing such a big name, you think, okay, is it just going to be a token role? But I feel she blended in so well, and her character was so unique. She really embodied it, and she was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, she was.
Big up to Scarlett on that one. Great performance.
Fantastic. All right.
Should we move on to the next section?
Personal opinion.
Okay. Wow. Do you want to start on this one and I'll close us? I feel like I've got a lot of passion about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well shot. In terms of visual comedy, it was lovely. As we have discussed with the grenade scene, and there's another fantastic scene where it's towards the end of the film, and one of the commanders of the Hitler Youth has designed this dead flamboyant outfit, and you get this shot of him stood on this rock doing his position like this, and it's just visually it's hilarious, and some fantastic pieces of comedy in there, and I feel like they hit the mark on the balance between this is a serious subject matter, and we're not in any way trying to make the subject matter funny and the horrible things that happen funny. We're doing it in a way that makes you laugh at the ridiculousness of the Nazi Party and what they stood for at a fundamental level. And for that, I commend it. I think it was executed perfectly. So in terms of a score out of 10, I go for an 8 out of 10 personally. I thought it was a fantastic film.
Brilliant. Right, for me, I absolutely adored it. I thought it was fantastic. From the moment I saw the trailer on telly to the end of it, I was absolutely in. Going into it, I wasn't sure exactly what the premise was. Like I said, I was drawn in by the visuals, but the first 10 minutes, when I saw the intro being a Beatles song, I Want to Hold Your Hand in German, with a footage of Nazi propaganda cut like a 60s music video, I was like, this is a film for me. And I feel like it maintained that tone all the way through. And what surprised me as it went on pleasantly was that it wasn't just a comedy. The first 20 minutes were hilarious and the premise was great, but it felt like it could just be an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long it was, of comedy. But yet they struck that tone, like we said. It made a point. It felt serious, and it was poignant as well. It wasn't just a comedy using that as a subject matter. It really dug to the core of it. And it made me see things with a different perspective. It made me feel things, but also laugh as well. I thought it was really unique. I don't think I've seen much like it. Visually, it was really entertaining. And just overall, I want to see it again. I really want to see it again, and soon, because it gave me everything. I thought it was a fantastic film. So, well done, Taika Waititi. I've got your name right at the end. Fantastic piece of work. And for me, 9 out of 10.
Fantastic.
Can't wait to see it again.
There we go. So that's the Glacé Film Club review of Jojo Rabbit. If you haven't seen it, it's still in cinemas, so please get out there and see it. It's a wonderful piece of cinema. Thank you, Marcus, for your insights. We've got an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10.
Big things for the film.
Absolutely.
Go and check it out. And if you want to see us chat about more like this, we'd love to know.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.